birth control / contraception abuse by women in sports for performance enhancement. Yes. So today is Monday, 16 December 2024. I'm Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I am Tanis Coralee, she, her, hers of Graceland. I'm going to provide my perspective on women who abuse birth control / contraception in performance sports to enhance their performance by impacting their reproductive system / hormone levels to such an extent that they do not menstruate. I am of the sexual orientation asexual and have not missed a menstruation cycle / period in over 18 years. I'm menstruating today. As of when this video was filmed on Monday, 16 December 2024. Some of you guys were like, just start menstruating. My system was like, all right. Can I add anything, my 2 cents here? So there are, I'd say this is far more common. I don't actually know how common it is in sports. It is definitely common in certain social settings with women. However, I'd say in my own industry, science / mathematics, by and large, it is not done. We choose to be natural women. We choose to be biological women. Right? So part of being a biological woman, for me, right, I have encountered recently definitions where a woman has to have high body fat, a high voice, and no body hair. And I've had low body fat and still menstruated, right? Meaning my body is capable of producing a child. I have, for me, actually like menstruating. So not just having ovaries, but actually embracing their role in human anatomy and biology. So if a woman doesn't menstruate and they have that because they're abusing it for performance enhancement, well, then they're not technically a biological woman. Right. Per a Tanis definition, which would be like, hey, body fat doesn't really matter, voice doesn't really matter, and body hair doesn't really matter for me, I might go with menstruation, and especially in this context. So I've spoken to this before. I'll link to my Pride Creation playlist in the video description. I know, I'm being daring. And it was a good one to think about. It's like, well, it's not really Pride Creation, but it was like Pride Creation if we expand it to look at other sexual orientations and like the LGBTQ+, where A stands for asexual, because I'm asexual. Right? And we think about the trans community and intersex community, stuff like this actually matters. Right? Because it's like, well, if a biological woman gets up on the stand and gives a speech, but they're not menstruating, they're not a biological woman, and at the very least, they're not a golden standard for a biological woman. It might be somebody more like me, who's like, I am me, Tanis Coralee, she, her, hers of Graceland, me, Tanis Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I am a full-time woman. My PMS starts 2 to a little over 2 weeks before I bleed for about 7 days. So about 21 days out of my 31-day cycle, I am experiencing physical symptoms, right, of being a woman. So somebody who takes birth control or contraception so that they don't menstruate in a timely manner is enhancing their performance through, if nothing else than basic physiology, right? Abuse of the female anatomy and female reproductive system. And there's changes in hormones that come with that. My sister, so the person I know who did this or does this, is my sister. She stopped competing in sports relatively young, however. But it would be interesting if they did roll out a ban on women who do this and strip all women who've competed with at competitions and abused. I support that, by the way. So if somebody has abused birth control / contraception to not menstruate and like, let's say they set some record in like the 200 butterfly or something, like that time needs to be stripped. They're not a biological woman from this girlie's perspective. But I would say the caution there would be how many periods or menstrual cycles have been missed, because there's a difference between I have no idea what's going on and like my body was ready for it and it's not here, and like the person chronically abuses the birth control or contraception and goes like 6 months or 11 months without a period, right? That's That's just doping. Right. So it is a form of doping, yes, compared to us cleanies. However, it's one that I have not really seen any action taken, and I think it's a lot more pressing than a lot of the means of doping that sports agencies pursue. Like, at some point, I would hope women's sports start getting protected. And I really support women's sports where women are menstruating women. Yeah, biological women, anatomical women. But, you know, some people don't support women's sports, and they get up and they tell speeches and they lie because they're not a biological woman themselves. That's why they don't like to use pronouns. So sometimes women who do this say pronouns are bad, or that they do not support pronouns because, well, guess what? They're not technically a she, her, hers, because they do abuse birth control / contraception. And then there's the whole performance enhancement part of that. Right? They lower their female hormone levels, which then favors perhaps male as substitutes or stand-ins or whatever neutral stand-in might be, and they view as a biological superiority to being woman, so they enhance their system by removing the female part. So there we go. That is on birth control / contraception abuse by women in sports for performance enhancement.